Hello everybody, welcome to Going to Ground. It's the 1st of May and May dawns should be treasured, wrote Ronald Blythe, so I intend to enjoy and treasure each of them. And I'm here by the River Kennet this morning, which runs alongside the A4, so you can hear a little bit of traffic I think in the background as well, as a choir of birdsong. And rivers are reassuring places for the soul, I think, very often. Certainly they're mystic places in literature and culture. The Bible begins and ends with a river. There's a river in the garden, and there's a river in the heavenly city of God. And whenever the life of God is described, not whenever, but very often when the life of God inside is described, it is likened to that fresh spring that we spoke about last week. And water imagery, we know, pervades the spirituality of the scriptures, the waters of the Red Sea, the waters of chaos, the waters of baptism. Water is such a rich image for us, and the waters of the Holy Spirit that well up within us. Therefore I'm going to read a watery psalm this morning. When I was in my 20s and experiencing some difficulties in my interior life, which is our theme this week and crops up again throughout these reflections, I read a book called The River Within, I think by Christopher Bryant, and I found it very helpful. And I used to, for years actually, whenever I needed inner stillness, I used to imagine an underground river. I'm rather fond of underground rivers, as some of you may know. And I used to imagine climbing down through dark networks of rocks and paths, down inside, deep inside, to find a river that constantly ran there. And I used to go and sit there in my mind, in my inner self, and I sometimes still do that, and to know that it carried on flowing whatever happened. And that's one of the reassuring things about a river, is its constancy amidst all of the changes of life. And that river is an image for the life of God, which abides in us, Jesus says. In other words, it sets up home. He sets up home and doesn't leave. He settles. But he is dynamic at the same time. The life of God is not just a deposit inside us. It is a moving, flowing thing that carries us along. And therefore to go and sit by that river, down to the river to pray, is a very calming thing to do. And as soon as you start thinking about it, aren't there so many songs down by the riverside, so many by the rivers of Babylon, I shan't go on, images to compare the spiritual life in that way. So as it's a new month, the prayer book Psalms begin again, and they begin again with a tree planted by a stream, and I'm sat here underneath a tree, as you can see, planted by a stream. Blessed is the man that hath not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stood in the way of sinners, and hath not sat in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law will he exercise himself day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the waterside, that will bring forth his fruit in due season. His leaf also shall not wither, and look, whatever he doeth, it shall prosper. As for the ungodly, it is not so with them. They are like the chaff which the wind scattereth away from the face of the earth. Therefore the ungodly shall not be able to stand in the judgment, neither the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. But the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, and the way of the ungodly shall perish. We're all unrighteous quite a lot of the time, and the joy of Easter is that Christ has borne the cost of that for us. And so even for the ungodly, the unrighteous and the sinners, perhaps especially, I think definitely especially for the sinners like me, there is promise and a river flowing deep within, and you might like to try in a quiet moment today climbing down to that place and asking that the rivers flow through you too, and listen for the trickle of water. God bless you as you go to ground.